All right, guys. Hello. How's it going? Hope your day or night or whatever is going good. I've been wanting to make this video for a while. What this video is going to be is the installation of Ubuntu um, operating system 18.04 in this case, long-term service, on a virtual machine so that I can make a Ruby on Rails development environment on it. Um, I have yet to see I mean, I've searched for videos, and tutorials and stuff, with doing this stuff in the past because, I've learned how to uh, use Ruby on Rails on different types of environments and whatnot. And I have yet to see a video where the whole process from scratch to deploy is in one video. So I'm going to do it. So basically I'm starting from scratch with nothing. So although I do have some parts of the process already downloaded so that the video isn't so long, but I have yet to see someone go through the process. So I am going to do that. So first of all, you need VM. I'm using VMware Workstation Player as my virtual machine uh, as my virtual machine. So anyways, when you go to VMware, you're going to click on Products and you're going to scroll down to, and to be fair, I'm just going to go through the process like I'm downloading these things. I'm not going to actually download these things and install them because I want the video to be kind of shorter. I don't want to take it too much time with downloading and installing these things. So anyways, you're going to scroll down here to Personal Desktop, and it's going to have Fusion for Mac Workstation Pro, which is the bot version of the Workstation Player, by the way. So the Workstation Player is actually the free version. You can actually download it right here on this link, and it'll be free for you to use as long as you use it personally. If you want to buy it, then it'll turn into the Pro version. Anyways, you download that, and this is what it looks like. I have it already up here. This is what the VMware Workstation 14 player looks like. It's very simple. And then what we need to install into the workstation is the Ubuntu 18.04 ISO, which you do by going to the home page. So this is the home page here. You'll see this nice, graphic here for Ubuntu, and you download it. Click on download, and you want to install the Ubuntu desktop. None of these. All right, Ubuntu desktop is what you want, and then you'll come to this page with the specifications that it wants. And this is interesting because these are some of the specifications that you want to set your virtual machine to once we start doing that. So click on download, and you have your opportunity to donate money for different perks of the project, blah, 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 all that good stuff. And you say, no, take me to the download now. And once you do, you come to this page and you wait for the pop-up. I already have this downloaded. I'm not going to wait and download this because there's 1.8 gigs of files that you need to download into your computer. I'm not going to do it, so we're going to cancel. I already have it. But anyways, once you're on this page, you can look at other options and whatnot while that's downloading. So we have the ISO, we have the VMware workstation player, and so we're ready to go with the creation of our virtual machine. So when you're on this home, you're going to click on Create New Virtual Machine. Now remember, we downloaded an ISO from the internet, so we're not using a BD-ROM drive. So we're going to install it from our disk image that we have on our computer, which, as you can see, it's already selected for me. So I can browse to it to make sure that it's pointing at the right one. There it is. So we click on Next. Going to give our full name, which we're going to just call ourselves user. Our username is going to be user. Now this is important because once we're inside of Ubuntu, this is what we're going to use to log in. So our username is going to be user, and our password is going to be something that you choose. All right. So remember, our username is going to be user, and we have a password. That's how we're going to log into Ubuntu when we start it up. This full name user doesn't really mean anything right now. It can later on when you use Ubuntu, but for right now it doesn't mean anything. What's important is the user and our password. All right, so we're going to name our virtual machine for VMware to see on this list. So this is going to be 1804. And then this location is important because you need to tell Windows where the virtual machine is going to live, all right, or exist, or reside, whatever you want to call it. So we're going to browse to a disk that you want it to live on. So we're going to have it live on a disk, of my choosing. We're going to actually create a folder for it to live in. We're going to call it machine 2. And then click OK. So it's on my F drive on machine 2. Then click Next. And then remember those specifications we had. It was a 25 gigabyte free space. So we're going to give it 30. And this next option down here, we'll just leave it on the default one that it says split virtual disk into multiple files. All this means is that it's when you split the disk into multiple files, it's easier for you to copy those files and to transfer them onto another disk that you might want your virtual machine to live. Then you can customize your hardware. So what we're going to do is give this 4 gigabytes of memory, 4096, and then we're going to processor. We're going to up to 4. My computer's, you know, a pretty good computer, so I'm not afraid to give it more horsepower. It's not gonna damage my computer in any way. All right, if I do that. And then that's all we need to do for customizing the hardware. This check mark here says power on the virtual machine after creation. So when we click finish, it's going to power it up. It's going to start installing Ubuntu, and that's what we want. Here we go, finish. All right, so I'm going to take this opportunity while this is installing. This installation is going to take a while. So I just want to make this disclaimer that this video is not at all intended to be a expert tutorial. I am not an expert at VMware Workstation. I am not an expert at Ubuntu, and I am not an expert on Ruby on Rails. I just want to make that clear. This is for my own learning and my own experience, and for anyone else who watches the video for their own learning and their own experience. And that's it. I am not at all trying to say that this is the only way to make a Ruby on Rails environment. This is how I make a Ruby on Rails environment, and I am not claiming to be an expert in the process whatsoever, or any of the processes involved whatsoever. So let me take you through the process here of what we're going to do. Let me give you an outline of after this installs, what's going to happen, because after this installs, it's going to happen pretty fast. Like some of the steps can really progress rapidly. So what we're going to do is obviously get Ubuntu started up and signed in, and then we're going to pretty much automatically open the terminal and make sure everything's updated. So we're going to do a sudo apt-get update, upgrade, auto remove, all that good stuff, which you're going to find, you're going to see that happen down here while it's installing, by the way. And then we're going to install some things that we need for Rails. We're going to install RVM. I'm going to use Ruby Version Manager for managing Ruby. So RVM, and with RVM, we're going to install Ruby. With Ruby comes Gem. So once Gem is installed, we can install Rails, and then we can install Node.js also for our JavaScript runtime. Once that's done, we're going to install Sublime Text 3. That's going to be my editor for my development environment. And we're going to do that through the terminal also. And then we're going to install Git, obviously, because we need a repository to commit our project so that we can create a Heroku app and push it to Heroku. So that means we're going to obviously gem install Rails, create a Rails project, make sure we have an index page that's a root index page, so that when we deploy it to Heroku, we can open the app and go to a root index page or a home page. And then we're going to install the Heroku's command line interface so that we can actually create the Heroku app, and then have a repository at Heroku to push our project to. So yeah, in the meantime, between all of that, we need to make sure that our gem file is up to date with the PG gem so that we can push to Heroku, because Heroku is not going to take a gem file that in which SQLite 3 is the database gem. It's only going to take a gem file that has the PG gem for production. So those are the steps that we're going to take once we get Ubuntu set up. I think it's important to show that to show this step. I know we didn't show installing VMware on Windows. I'm on Windows 10, by the way. And then I know we didn't show the step about downloading the Ubuntu ISO, because those two steps take a lot of time, and I think that's a given. Like most people are going to know that that's what you have to do to get this process going. It's this step right here, the installation of Ubuntu, that takes a while. And but I think this step right here is nice to show so that people know how long it actually takes to install Ubuntu on a virtual machine. It doesn't take very long at all. I mean, relatively speaking, if you're just sitting there, wanting to do something, then installing a virtual machine with Ubuntu is not a problem whatsoever. So we're just going to let this run, do its thing. So I'm actually what you're seeing on the screen is this is the this is the VMware player that you're seeing here. This behind it is actually a web is Chrome with the two web pages that I showed you, the VMware workstation and the Ubuntu. So don't get confused that this is not actually on the web page that it's sitting on. It's actually the VMware player doing its thing here in the forefront. So I probably should minimize this so you can see that this is my desktop here. Here's my recycle bin down here. So here's my desktop on Windows 10, and here's the workstation, the virtual machine workstation doing its thing in the foreground. So as you can see, it's starting to boot up. Ubuntu was installed. Now it's starting to boot up. You're getting a a couple of lines here saying, hey, we're installing, blah blah. Here we go. All right, here's our name, user. So let's go ahead and get in there and put our password and sign in. There we are. And 18.04 is new, so they're going to give you right away a what's new in Ubuntu, as you can see. And look at this user interface on the left here. It's definitely different than 16.04. And look at this show applications. Tell me this is not the same as Google's Android show applications button, huh? So this is definitely mobilized. You can take this anywhere with you. You can put it on your mobile device. You can have it on your laptop. You can have it on a tablet or whatever, and you're going to be fine. We'll just get off of this. We'll just scroll through this and click done. We're done with that. This trash container belongs down here. So anyways, on where we go. Activities is the new thing here. So before you used to have, I forget what it was before. I just used 16.04 and I can't remember what this was. But anyways, in here in activities is where what you click on, and in here you type terminal to get to the terminal. Once it's here, you can lock it to your favorites on the bar over here, and it'll be over there for good. All right, so I'm going to try to keep the terminal centralized so that people can see it on the screen in the video. So right away, I'm just going to go, I'm going to do a sudo apt get update. And this was already done. I don't, you probably didn't notice, but while Ubuntu was installing, it was flashing a whole bunch of messages here, and it was doing this. But I'm going to do it anyways, just to make sure everything is done. Sudo apt get upgrade and sudo apt get auto remove. Oops. All right, so everything is up to date as far as the terminal goes, and we don't have to worry about any other updates as far as system goes because we're not really interested. We're just interested in getting Rails up and started on our machine ASAP. So I'm going to open up this terminal just a little bit. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is install curl. All right. We need curl for downloading our content and some of our packages. All right. So let's do that. Sudo apt get install curl. So anytime it asks you, is this okay to add additional space or whatever? Yeah, just push it. I mean, this is a meg. Whoopie ding. Let's see what else here. So we install curl. All right, good. Now we can install our VM. So Ubuntu ships with Firefox. We're going to open up Firefox. We're going to search for RVM. Again, I'm going to use RVM as my Ruby manager. And Microsoft needs to fix a problem on my machine. That's fine, Microsoft. Thank you very much. All right, RVM. So search RVM. Here's RVM. And I'll show you the first reason why we need curl, because look at this command line for curl right there. So let's copy this. So anyways, to install RVM right here, your first command is get your GPG key. So we're going to paste that command here. And a successful key here is you see these lines here. Once you see those lines, then you know you're successful at getting the key. And then we're just going to copy this. This is the download for RVM. Oops. And then you know it's successful when you say installation of RVM is almost complete because now you need to run this command to get RVM to actually do something when you type RVM. All right, so now when you do things with RVM, it'll actually perform. So we can say RVM version and it says 1.29.3. And if you type Ruby version, you're not going to get anything because we haven't actually used RVM to install Ruby. So let's do that next. RVM install Ruby. And I think we're on 2.5.1 right now. So let's do that. And this takes a little bit of time also because I can't really. Okay, if you look down at the bottom of the screen here, you'll see these lines right here. So this is Ruby needs particular other packages to exist on your machine as dependencies. So, for example, make, SQLite3, automake, libtool, bison, you know, things like that, because that's how, you know, your system uh, grows. You know, you just need these things on your system for like Ruby and uh, what else? Git and you know other different packages that you need. You just need these things. Well, thankfully RVM is smart enough to say, hey, you need these packages on your machine before we can install Ruby. Before years ago, if you wanted to install Ruby on your machine, you used to be able to just go sudo apt-get install Ruby, and you get this old version of Ruby. Well, guess what? You didn't download and install any of this other stuff right here, and you were like, now wait a second, why isn't Ruby working? Oh, do I have to install all these things? And you have to look it up online to see where these things are. And yeah, so now RVM makes it nice. It just does it all automatically for you. By the way, that sudo apt-get Ruby thing they used to do was years ago. I'm talking years because it's 2018 now, and I remember even with Ruby 1.9.3, you didn't have to necessarily do that if you had RVM installed. I, I don't know, but and I think up until a certain point, I think sudo apt-get install Ruby, you were still getting 1.8.7 or something like that, and we're up to 2.5.1 now. So I mean that's ancient history. What's also important to know is that Rails actually there's a certain point at which Rails stops depending on a version of Ruby. So, like if you have 1.9.3 on your system, you're not going to be able to run the latest versions of Rails. You have to keep updating your Ruby versions also. All right, so Ruby is done. We can check. Let me condense this. Let me make this smaller so I can bring this to the middle of the screen so you can see what I'm doing. Let's check our Ruby version. And we have 2.5.1 as our package. All right, so next. So when Ruby was installed, we got gem also. So let's check the gem version and let's just make sure that that's updated. So gem update system, and it should say no more versions or whatever. Latest version already installed, done. Okay, so now let's install Rails. Gem install Rails. This is going to take a while. By the way, we need to install Bundler also. Don't let me forget that. Let's see. So we should have probably installed that before this, but I think it's just installing Rails is fine. Let me just make a note here for myself. Install. There we go. All right. Rails takes a little bit of time, depending on your system. Now I gave this virtual machine 4 cores. I allowed it access to 4 cores and 4 GB of RAM. So it's it has some spunk to it. Oh, by the way, I installed my virtual machine on a solid state drive. I highly recommend, if you're gonna put a virtual machine on your system, to do it on a solid state drive. Highly recommend it. It just makes it so much faster. It's so nice. All right, Rails is installed. We're gonna install Bundler right now. So gem install Bundler. Oops, I did not spell that right. The gem BUNLDR is actually a gem. It installed on my system. That's interesting. All right, and now let's this was already installed, but I'm gonna do it again. Noko Gary, we'll install it again. I just want to make sure that gets installed. Okay, so just to review a little bit, RVM, we opened up terminal as soon as we got into Ubuntu and made sure everything was up to date. We didn't care about the system, we didn't care about the user interface or anything like that. We haven't even touched it. We opened up terminal, we installed RVM, number one. Number two, with RVM, we installed Ruby. Ruby installed Gem for us, so we had Gem and we installed Rails. Then we installed Bundler and Nokogiri. All right, next is Node. So we're going to go to the Node website. I'm sorry, Node.js. Wow. Node.js. And in here, we're going to go to downloads. And we're going to go scroll down to installing Node.js via package manager. And we have the Debian Ubuntu. And so we want Node 8.x or whatever 8, 8 is the long-term service. 9 is not. So we're going to install the 8.x. Let me just double click this. This will be easier. There we go. So we're going to run that command. And then we're going to run this command. This will install Node. All right, so Node is in. That's a big step because Node is, it has a lot of other dependencies also. As you can see, it was putting other dependencies just like Ruby did on our system. All right, so those are the main things to get Rails going in your terminal. All right, so what I'm going to do next is download. I'm going to go ahead, while I have the page open here, I'm going to go ahead and download Sublime Text 3. And we're going to do that through the command line also. So this is the Sublime Text download page. So you have to look for this link right here called Linux repos. See this Linux repos link? That's what you want to click on. And this is the Linux package manager repos or repositories. So Sublime Text 3 includes an auto upgrade mechanism on Windows and OS X to make upgrades a snap. But because we're on a Linux system, it wants us to use the Linux command line to do the upgrades like we would normally do with a package manager. So we have apt. So we click on apt, and okay, so it's just scroll down the page a little bit. So here's apt right here, and we're going to use these commands to install Sublime Text 3. Let me scroll down my terminal here. We're way up in the air for some reason. I think I clicked on it by accident. Okay, so hit that command, and it says okay. That's how you know that command worked. Okay, so this next command is ensure app is set up to work with HTTPS sources. In other words, we're going to be downloading Sublime Text 3 through a secure network proxy, aka a secure website. Okay, and then once that's done, we're going to do this next. We're just going to continue down these commands, copy and pasting. Nothing hard about this. This is easy. Okay, and this is just making our place in our you know system ready for the download, and then we're going to update, and then we're going to install. Trying to do this as quickly as I can. I don't want to bore anybody. The version we're downloading of Sublime Text 3 is 3143, as you can see right there. And then you can also see that in this command. Oh, I guess you couldn't see that in the command. Okay. Anyways, you saw that there, right there. And right here. And right here. But anyways, we have version 3143 as our Sublime. I'll say much more about Sublime in a little bit. For right now, we have Sublime, but where did it put it? We don't know where this downloaded to. These things are a little vague about where Sublime went, so we have to actually go look for it. Luckily, I know where it went, so let's go see where it went. So I love this user interface, don't you? Look at this. What in the world's going on here? Look at this, man. So anyways, we want to go to our files. And it's going to be, so in 18.04, you have to click other locations, and then your computer will show up on other locations. So you want to click on computer, and it's actually in OPT, or options, I guess. And then this is where Sublime Text went. So you go into the Sublime Text folder, and all the way to the far right is the Sublime Text executable file. So we're going to double click this, and there's Sublime Text. It just opened up for us right here. So we're going to lock this over here. Add to favorites. So adding to favorites now in Ubuntu 18.04 is how you lock it to the sidebar over here. Okay. Okay. Good. Now we have Sublime Text working on our system. I'm going to have to get used to 18.04 because, wow, there are some things that have changed. Yeah. All right, Sublime Text is now in. Now, let's install Git. So sudo apt get install Git. Yeah. Sudo apt get. Yes. All right, Git's installed. Good. Now we haven't actually made a Rails application yet. That's fine. But we have our editor. We have Git installed. We have Ruby, all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and install. Okay, we already installed Rails. So let's go ahead and make a Rails project. So Rails new, and let's just call it example. Something generic, like example. Now it's going to make our Rails project in the directory of example. All right, so we have to cd into example. Then once this is done, there's some things we have to change in here before we can actually push it to Heroku. All right, so we're going to do that with our Sublime Text editor, our brand new Sublime Text editor that we haven't even messed with. Can you believe that? So anyways, okay, so Rails is done. So now we're going to cd into example. I can't spell tonight. And now we're going to Sublime, or do a subl, or subl space dot, subl dot. And that opens our Rails app in Sublime. As you can see right here, here's our Rails app over here living. Huh? So the first thing you have to do in our app to make it ready for Heroku is we need to get rid of SQLite 3. So we need to cut this actually We need to put this in our environment. Or I'm sorry, environment. In our development group. So this is where our SQLite 3 gem is going to live now in our development group. And down here at the bottom, we're going to do group production do, and then here we're going to put the gem PG, which is PostgreSQL. All right. Those two things we had to change for us to prepare to get to push it up to Heroku. Next, we need to generate a index page. So Rails generate controller welcome index. Whoa! Oh, so we're CD in. Oh, what the hell happened here? What's going on? Interesting. Huh. Oh, interesting. We didn't have bundler in here. Let me CD out of here. Gem install bundler. Okay. Weird. Hmm. Okay. Huh. All right. Okay. So what happened was bundler actually didn't get installed with the Rails gem. When I did gem install Rails, it actually didn't install. So I installed bundler after Rails was installed, and then therefore it wasn't seeing it until I did a bundle on my Rails um, project. So that's weird. So anyways, on where we go. That was a little skip in the action. Sorry about that. That was a weird thing because if you, normally you would do a gem install bundler before you would create your Rails app, but I didn't, and there was a little hiccup there. So sorry about that. Anyways, we got our view made in our welcome. we have our welcome controller made with a view with a view. So we open up our app over here, view, open up the index page, and we're going to just delete all this. We're going to keep the h1 tags, delete this, and in here we're going to say we did it. Once we open our app in Heroku to say that we did it. All right, all right. All right, so that should all be good. We have the bundles, we have the gems bundled now in our app, like as you saw up here, and we have our controller made with our index page. The next thing we need to do is change our routes so that we have a root page, so that when our app is opened in Heroku, it goes to an actual homepage. So the server will be like, hey, where do we want to go now? So now we're routed to our homepage, and once we open our app in Heroku, we'll see these messages we did it. Excellent. All right, next. So we have Git installed, right? So let's go ahead and commit our project to Git. So first of all, we need to configure some things in Git. Git doesn't know who we are yet. So let's do that. So git config global user.name, and our name is going to be user, doesn't matter. And then git config global user.email, and you can just use any generic email you want. So we configured our global configurations. Git likes to know who we are, basically, before it does anything. So now we can commit our project. So we git init, and we git add adding all of our files to the repository, or staging them for the commit. So we git commit. This is our first commit, and there's all the files that we committed. Boom, boom, done, done. All right, next step is to install Heroku. So let's open Firefox back up, get Heroku up here. All right, we need to sign up. So I have a username for Heroku, so let's sign in a while. Oh, it needs an email address. Sorry. All right, and in order to get to the page where we need to install Heroku, we go to our we go to documentation. And right here on the right-hand side is the Heroku CLI. And we want to download and install the CLI. So here right in front of us, you can't miss this, is Ubuntu Debian. So we want to run this command in our terminal. Before we do that, let's cd. Whoa, did you hear that? Okay, anyways, let's go into our home directory, and let's run the command in our home directory. Okay, once our password, sudo password. Okay, it's done, so let's cd back into example. And in here, we're going to log into Heroku. So Heroku login. And we're going to have our email. And our password. And that says logged in as to live and die. So now, while we're in our apps directory, we're going to do Heroku create. And it gave us a link here, a name, a mysterious river. That's the name of our app. So we remember that when we go back to Heroku to see our app on our dashboard. Next is to push the commit to Heroku. So git push Heroku master. What you don't want to see here is SQLite 3. As long as you don't see SQLite 3, you're good. And what you want to see is PG. You want to see the gem PG, which is right there. It goes right there. And then you don't want to see SQLite 3. If you see SQLite 3, it's going to fail. If you don't see the PG gem, it's going to fail. I have never seen this error not be there. This bundler error, like I have always seen this error. If you see compressing, it's a good thing. That means your app is doing good. Whenever I push my projects to Heroku and I see that, I'm like, okay, great, we're good. All right, guys, it's pushed to Heroku, so let's go back to Heroku. So we're already there. Let's go to our dashboard, which has our apps in it. And what do we say it was? Mysterious River. Here's Mysterious River. Let's open our app. And we did it. So zero. We had zero. We didn't even have a place to run at Rails, right? I mean, we were going to put it on a Ubuntu virtual machine, and we did it. So there you go. There's my run through. I made the video fine. I've been wanting to do that for so long, but it's finally done. I did it, and I'm going to post it to YouTube. All right, guys, see you later. Hope you have fun, and good luck in everything you do.